everybody. So I want to talk a little bit about the research process and this rhetorical précis assignment that you're going to upload for essays 2 and 3. So go into the research resources folder and open up those two documents. I want to start with the research guide for essays 2 and 3. So I think it was the chapter 3 lecture I did, mini lecture. I was talking about the quality of information that we need to find and being more informationally literate. I was talking about how your generation, through no fault of your own, struggles with determining the quality and credibility of sources. So in order to just have you practice doing that in a way that will lead to good results, I have constructed a do this and you will find information that will work method. So if you look at that research guideline, the first 7 steps that are listed there, all of those, you will use those for either essay 2 or essay 3. For essay 2 and essay 3, there's slightly different steps after that because you'll be looking for slightly different information. And you can follow along right now. You should be able to do this. You know, if you can log into your Coursed-In account, and then under academic resource, you click on the library. So the reason why you log into Coursed-In first is because if you're off campus, then once you get into the library, you're in. Just above the search window in the middle left, click on Databases in Galileo. And then you want to click on Subject or A to Z Listing. And then you want to click on P at the top of the screen. It's all the letters. Click on the ProQuest databases. Click on Advanced Search at the top left of the screen. So here, the kind of resources we're looking for in both of these both of these essays are magazines and newspapers. Magazines and newspapers are publications that have credible writers in general, there's some pretty wacky newspapers and magazines, but for the most part. And they're edited. So that means that the information that's in them has been vetted. When you're just out there randomly surfing the old internet, people can have websites up for all kinds of stuff, and it's not always very relevant or very credible. So we're going to search for magazines and newspapers for the purposes of this assignment. And the other thing for that is I want you to practice researching and finding information to support and to engage with in your papers. The other thing is, from a practical standpoint, these 1101 and 1102 writing classes are kind of like exercise. So you just need to also physically practice putting material into your paper, introducing it, finding a relevant quote, citing the quote, explaining the quote, engaging with the quote. So if I was having you find books and peer-reviewed scholarly works, those are somewhat even more credible, usually, resources. But then you're spending even more information trying to digest the depth of those kind of sources. And what we need to do here is we don't have the time for that. Okay, and so this is a nice middle ground. You're going to find credible sources that are going to be digestible to you, and you're going to be able to then practice putting that information into your paper. So for essay 2, you're going to be looking for document type. Step 9 there is reviews. You're going to find other people that have written reviews on the film that you chose. Okay, and then click search. One of the hints there is if you're having trouble finding results, put whatever the name of your film is in quotation marks, because then it will search for that whole string as one unit. For essay 3, you're going to, again, look for magazines and newspapers, but you want to scroll down and select commentary and editorial under document type. And that's going to give you other opinion pieces or editorials, commentaries in newspapers and magazines. For 10, I suggested most recent first as far as the selections, the results that you get. And that goes back to the lecture in chapter 3 on Kairos and research. You want to make sure that if you're researching a controversial topic, the information that you're getting matches the timeliness of what you're talking about. You don't want to be talking about, legalizing marijuana, although I think I may have taken that off the list because those get to be kind of, those papers typically aren't very good. But that debate has changed a lot recently because it's legal in some states now and medical and all that. So you wouldn't want to be getting articles from the 60s where it was just a bunch of hippies kind of dreaming about it. It's more of a reality now. So you are going to use this sheet here, this research guide, to find for each essay 2 and 3, you're going to need 2 sources. And you're going to need to incorporate those sources into your paper. You may find more sources. That's fine. You may have to look at 10 sources to find 2 good ones. In fact, if you're not doing that, you're probably not finding good sources. But when you get the sources that you want, the thing that you're going to turn in as a homework assignment for each essay 2 and 3 is this thing called a rhetorical précis. So let's look at that document now. And again, I hate the fancy, pretentious name of rhetorical précis, but I didn't name it. So let's look at this. Students have sort of struggled with this in the past. I think that's just because they were too lazy to really follow this and think about it. I hope that with this paper and with this lecture, you guys will be able to handle this. Okay, it's basically a 4-sentence paragraph that you write for each source that you're going to use. So by the end of this class, you will have turned in 2 rhetorical précis on 1 document, 1 for each source for essay 2, and 2 rhetorical précis, 1 for each source for essay 3. And those rhetorical précis are just 4-sentence paragraphs, but each sentence does a specific thing. I'm having you turn these in before the paper's due to get you going on the thinking and researching part of this paper. Again, academic research is not something you do after you've written your paper and crowbar quotes into it. Academic research is something you do in the beginning when you're thinking about your topic. All right, so let's look at this document here. Rhetorical précis provides a structured model for describing the rhetorical strategies of a text, as well as for capturing the gist of the content. They are 4 sentences long. So here's what it is. Sentence 1, you're going to name the author. The genre was a newspaper article, a magazine article, an opinion piece, a film review, and the title of the work with the date in parentheses. You're going to use a rhetorically accurate verb to identify what you think that this author is doing in this work. And the example at the bottom will explain this. And then a summary of the major assertion of the thesis statement of this work. So sentence 1 is just sort of like, here's who wrote it, here's what it's called, here's what kind of a document it is, and here's when it was written. And here's sort of a summary of its thesis statement. Here's what it's arguing. So let's look down there at the bottom. Sentence 1. This is an example. A UC Berkeley Wellness Letter article, Chew on This, summarizes, and that's the active verb there, recent research on the possible benefits of gum chewing, and reports that so far this research shows only small or brief benefits. One thing about this article is it doesn't have an author. If you want to put the author's name in there if your article has it, and it should. Okay, so let's go back up. Sentence 2. This is an explanation of how the author develops and supports the thesis, usually in chronological order. So after you read the article, you're going to say, here's the point, and they brought up this point, and this point to support it. All right, this just makes you really think about what the document that you're looking at is actually doing. So let's look down here at the sample again, sentence 2. The author notes first that gum chewing may increase saliva flow that prevents cavities, but should not replace brushing and flossing. But then takes a maybe approach when reporting that gum chewing's possible effects for both weight management and brain stimulation are limited and short-lived. So that's just a simple chronological summary of the subpoints that support the main thesis that they summarized in sentence 1. I'm going to ask, are you still with me? And you can't respond because you're on video, but you can watch this again. Okay, 2 more sentences here. Sentence 3, a statement of the author's purpose. The fact that this article, I'm down here at the example again, sentence 3. The fact that this article fills the newsletter's customary spot for brief research reports in this publication establishes the author's purpose as informative, but its informal tone suggests that it is written to amuse as well as to inform. So sometimes do you think your article that you found is trying to provoke people? Do you think it's trying to change people's mind? Do you think it's trying to, bring something, a film or a perspective back to life that people have forgotten about? You got to kind of try to think about, why did this person write this article? What was their purpose? Okay. Sentence 3 is tricky. That's good practice for you, though, rhetorically. Okay. And then sentence 4, a description of the intended audience and or the relationship the author establishes with the audience. This goes back to, how are different people going to receive this information? Okay. The author assumes an audience of well-educated readers who have high interest in health and wellness issues, but a cautious attitude towards research findings. And thus is able to use humorous tone, as well as a clever punning title that implicitly warns that what is being reported is something to chew on, ha ha ha, but not to be taken as certain. So you're going to find articles that are different than this. This is sort of a scientific type of article, but the general structure of it, I think you can handle. And the point of this is to get you to not just read the article, but to think about it in a rhetorical situation. Who did it? What is it? When was it? What's it saying? How is it saying it? Why is it being said? And who's it being talked to? Okay? So, again, you're going to do 2 rhetorical précis, one for each article that you find for essay 2, and put them both on one Word document, and you're going to upload that to turn it in. And 2 rhetorical précis, one for each source you found for essay 3, and you're going to upload that when it comes time for essay 3. All right, so I hope that helps. I'm going to say one thing at the end here for those of you who think you got it all figured out with research. Research takes time. That's another reason why I'm having you start these early and having this assignment early on in the process. A lot of times students, an hour before the paper's due, are like, I can't find anything. And my next question is, well, when did you start looking? Because if you started looking 30 minutes before you emailed me, that's the problem, and I can't help you. So start early, all right? And good luck.